Welcome, Dr. Srinivas, to this webinar. And there's a small and brief introduction about him. So, Dr. Srinivas is a capital market and financial market professional with specialization in macroeconomics and fundamental research. He is the Chief Operating Officer of BAC Brokers Forum. He has 17 years of corporate experience in field of financial services with complete knowledge about all the segments of the capital markets and financial products. And today he will be enlightening us regarding fundamental analysis. So over to Dr. Srinivas. Dr. Srinivas,
Yes, sir. Yes.
you can
Very
take
good. Yes, yes. Sure, sir. Very good evening, my dear friends. Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters. Friends, today our topic is basically related to fundamental analysis, which is definitely a very interesting topic. So I have a small PPT. I will basically go through that PPT, and then what we will do is that do the Q&A round. So just give me 1 second. Yes. Yes. See, this is basically a fundamental analysis, and we start with. See, friends, normally if you talk of fundamental analysis, a lot of people assume it as basically something whereby you identify only good companies for investment. That is, it answers the question which shares to buy. But to be very frank, friends, fundamental analysis is much broader than that. It basically deals not only with only buying of shares, but it does three tier analysis, that is economic analysis, industry analysis, and company analysis. Always remember, basically when we talk of analysis, see, group of companies make industry and group of industries make economy. So unless economy is doing well, the markets won't go up. First. Second, in economy also different sectors will behave different way. So different industries will have their own perspective. So it is equally important to basically analyze industry also. And then you, in among industry, you identify which companies are likely to make profit. So that is what we have to, friends, keep it in mind. So economy, industry, and company, these three things occupy huge importance when it comes to fundamental analysis. First, we will see the pointers and then go in detail. See, as far as economic analysis is concerned, friends, in case of economic analysis, there are basically 7 important factors that we need to analyze. For instance, if we talk of economy,
Dr. Aditya, sorry to bother you. Could you please make the PPT full screen?
sure.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes. See, basically, if we talk of economic analysis, in that case, basically these 7 macroeconomic factors play a vital role. Correct? That is something very important. These macroeconomic factors like GDP growth, then inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, that is the rupee dollar equation, then current account deficit, then basically fiscal deficit. Then index of industrial production. So these are 7 main macro factors which if you basically try to analyze, then in that case only basically you will come to know whether an economy is doing good or not. See, if we basically try to analyze these 7 macroeconomic factors, then in that particular case, friends, these 7 factors, just give me 1 second. If we talk of basically these 7 factors, then they will tell you whether an economy is performing well or not. Apart from these 7 factors, friends, these are the major indicators that whether an economy is doing well. If these 7 factors are stable, then yes, economy is doing well. If there is a problem with these 7 factors, then definitely in that particular case, economy is not doing well. So that is something we have to, friends, keep it in mind. So this particular point is something very important. Apart from this, if we talk of industry analysis, then each industry has its own dynamics. So for example, banking sector, if you see, will have its own factors like non-performing assets, net interest margin, then current account, savings account. So each industry will have its own particular parameters. Here we will take the analysis of two industries. One is the banking sector and one is an IT sector. So both we will try to analyze and understand how this industry's outlook is. And then if you come to company analysis, then each company will have lot of plus and minus. But to be very frank, we have to see basically these factors which are most important, like gross profit, net profit, operating profit, EPS, PE ratio. These pointers are there and we will discuss them in detail. Debt equity ratio, liquidity ratio. So this will give you a complete idea that when you are buying a stock, whether that stock is fundamentally sound or not. So that is something, friends, very, very critical and important as far as the analytic part is concerned. So the first basic part is economic analysis, second is industry, and third is company. Now we will try to analyze each one of them. See, as far as economic analysis is concerned, the first factor comes GDP. Always remember, it is the main parameter which shows economic progress made by a country. Currently, if we talk of our country's GDP, it is at 0.4% positive. Basically, in April, May, June 2020, when the pandemic started, the GDP came minus 23.9% and it had crashed out. In June, July, August, when we started unlocking, the GDP improved to minus 7.5%, and then basically ultimately to this last quarter three, it is at 0.4% positive return. So basically one thing is very clear, friends, that ultimately if you see, GDP is the final 1 point indicator. If that is growing well, things will be much better. So keep this particular point in mind. And foreign capital comes only if GDP is in positive zone. So that is something very important. Second is inflation and interest rate. See, if we talk of current inflation, it is at 5.03%. And if we talk of basically interest rate, it is basically at this thing. Repo rate is at 4%. Always remember, inflation and interest rate are positively correlated. So if inflation goes up, interest rate will go up in the economy. But always remember, if interest rates become too high, then in that case, demand and consumption slows down in the economy and ultimately economy slows down. So inflation and interest rate, both of them play a vital role as far as investment scenario is concerned, friends. This second and third macro variable, inflation and interest rate, occupy a very important place in the formation of monetary policy. If we talk of exchange rate, friends, it shows rupee dollar equation. So always remember that if the rupee is appreciating, it means economy is strong and foreign inflows are coming. If the rupee depreciates, it means that economy is weak and foreign capital is going out. Always remember one thing, friends, that as far as exchange rate is concerned, unfortunately in last 10 to 12 years, we have been depreciating continuously. In the year 2007, we had $1 is equal to 38 rupees, and today we are at 74 rupees. So that basically has affected our exports and imports also. The next variable, which is very important, is current account deficit. See, current account deficit basically means the difference between exports and imports. Always remember, if imports are more than exports, it is called as deficit, and if exports are more than imports, then it is called as surplus. Always remember, if the current account deficit mainly is because we import crude oil and gold. These two items form the majority of our component as far as basically current account deficit is concerned. It basically creates an issue because crude oil, when internationally crude oil prices go up and if rupee depreciates, that is the worst combination because our oil import bill deficit goes up. Unfortunately, in the last 3 to 4 years, though internationally crude oil prices came down, even then basically government was not in a position to give the benefit of lower crude oil prices to our people, and we ultimately are still paying huge amount for petrol and diesel. That was something unfortunate, but nevertheless things should improve in the coming time. Primarily, as I told, gold is second major problem which is there in our balance of payment. See, we typically import 850 tons of gold and Indian households has around 25,000 tons of gold. Now, basically, if current account deficit keeps on rising, it will create obviously problem for the economy because your balance of payment basically becomes weak. And if the balance of payment is weak, obviously, what will happen? Foreign investors will not be confident for investing in our economy. That is something we have to keep it in mind. if we talk of fiscal deficit, then yes, it is the difference between government's income and government's expenditure. See, government's income is nothing but taxes paid by people and companies, and government's expenditure is what government spends on social issues, health, defense, public sector, infrastructure, all this. Always remember that currently our fiscal deficit is on the much higher side. It is at 9.5%. For next year, it is projected to be 6.8%, and by 2026, it will come down to 3 to 4%. Basically, friends, always remember if fiscal deficit is on the higher side, then in that case, foreign investors tend to avoid their economy, tend to avoid that economy because they feel that government is inefficient in managing public money. So that is something, friends, we have to keep it in mind. That is why fiscal deficit is a very important macroeconomic variable. Not only that, if you basically see this fiscal deficit, then primarily government is trying to focus on reducing fiscal deficit because they are confident that GST collections would go up. But to be very frank, that will all depend upon how economy comes back out of this coronavirus pandemic. And to be very frank, the way this second wave has started, and even yesterday we registered 35,000 cases all over India and some 26,000 cases in Maharashtra, that is something really worrisome. Right now, the only biggest risk to the Indian economy and to the global is resurgence of this COVID-19 problem. Then index of industrial production, friends. Index of industrial production primarily shows you that what is the demand in the manufacturing segment. Correct. What is the demand in manufacturing segment? Always remember, if this index is high, it means demand is there, and if this index is low, it means demand is not there. If you talk of April 2020, IIP was minus 57%, and basically in November it has been at 3. November 2020 it was 3.63, but unfortunately again right now if I say the last week data, it has come again minus 1.6%. So basically we need to have slightly wait and watch approach, that basically whether the manufacturing demand in the economy is sustainable or it is just a bounce back, because every 2 months the data from positive again enters into negative territory. So that is something which will take time to give us a conclusion that whether macroeconomic factors on an overall basis have become positive or they are slightly deteriorating. See, why economic analysis is important, friends? For the simple reason that unless economy is in good shape, foreign capital will not come. That is something most important point, friends. Economy has to be in good shape, and if India is typically a labor-intensive economy, so we need capital to make this population work. That is why we need foreign capital in terms of both FII capital and FDI capital. Now, if we try to analyze the industry part, see in industry, different industries have behaved differently during this COVID-19 times and in general also. See, two industries are very important. One is banking sector, one is IT sector. Banking sector, please understand, friends, that NPA is the biggest issue. 2012, if we see, the gross NPAs were at 1.86 lakh crore. 2016, they were at 4 lakh crore. And right now, they are at 9 lakh crore. Of course, in last 1.5 year, because of the NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal, the body that has been formed and which is working aggressively to liquidate the assets of large number of willful defaulters, the NPAs have reduced to 7.5 lakh crore. So basically, banking sector is improving, and with the formation of bad bank that has been proposed in the budget, this particularly problem seems to get sorted out in coming times. And that is why banking stocks should be there as a part of your investment portfolio, friends. That is very important. Always remember that banking and IT, these two stocks should be a part of your overall investment strategy, because this will really help you to make money in the long term, because banking sector is the backbone of the overall economy and IT sector basically is the lifeline. See, today everything is based on information technology. So unless we basically use these two things, we cannot live. Bank for day-to-day financial transaction and IT for everything. So that is why these two sectors should be there as a part of your overall investment strategy. Second, banks are the backbone of financial system, friends. That is very, very important. And government anyways have ensured that no bank fails. See, Yes Bank, there was an issue. So it was basically taken over by the government, and now basically it is trying to come back on track. So one thing is very clear, that on the long term, banking stocks and IT stocks will definitely play a critical role as far as investment themes is concerned. As far as IT sector is concerned, if we talk of IT sector, then basically we get around 80% revenue from in dollar terms. So always remember that US is a very, very vital market for Indian IT firms. Now, as far as our balance sheets are concerned of Indian IT companies, they are basically zero debt, having a strong cash flow. So one thing is very clear that we have basically this H-1B visa issue has also been sorted out by the current Biden administration, which was always a problem with the Trump administration. Right now, something around 15 lakh Indians are working in US, and that is why Indians also play a vital role in US elections. So this IT sector, friends, should definitely be a part of your investment portfolio. Apart from these two sectors, pharmaceutical, auto, and insurance, these three sectors shares should also be there, because pharma today, health is wealth. Everybody has understood that mantra, that if you are healthy, then only you can live life and you can manage things. So that is something very important, very critical. Second is basically insurance. Everybody for the first time have themselves visited and has got themselves insured. So insurance is again something very, very critical aspect. So this is something we have to, friends, keep it in mind. If we come to company analysis part, then in that case, there are certain 8 to 9 factors which we need to analyze so that you are relatively safe when you buy a stock. See, the first two most important factors are gross profit and net profit. Gross profit basically means overall revenue. Always remember that if a company is not able to generate revenue, that means either the product is faulty or the company is targeting wrong market. Because unless net gross profit goes up, revenue won't come, and unless you minus expenses from revenue, you will not get net profit. So if we take an example of Tata Nano, see, the problem was the car could not be sold only. So there was no gross revenue. So finally project had to be shut down. Net profit, most important indicator. See, whenever you buy a share, whether it is large cap, mid cap, or small cap, you need to ensure that net profit rises, because it is only when net profit rises, FIIs and mutual funds will buy that particular share. So that is something very, very important. So that is why net profit rise is most important thing as far as basically this thing is concerned. So gross profit and net profit both should be there, so that FII and mutual funds will buy those shares. And when they buy the shares, then only, friends, ultimately the market goes up. Third, operating profit. See, operating profit, the logic is very simple, that whether company is able to generate free cash flow from operations or not. Unless we are able to generate free cash flow, in that case, we will not be able to primarily sustain that business model. Any company in which operating cash flow is negative won't survive for long, because it means that you are pouring money from your pocket and no cash is generated from the business. Fourth, earnings per share. Even that is very, very critical and important, friends, because earnings per share is nothing but net profit divided by total number of shares. So if basically EPS does not rise, then FIIs and mutual funds will not buy the share. So that is why rise in EPS is very, very important and critical, that we need to ensure that EPS finally goes up and we are able to, the FIIs and mutual funds will buy and things will be in a better position. So earnings per share is a very important variable and it is directly linked with net profit. Yes, price earning ratio, a thing which is many times discussed, debated, but to be very frank, difficult to judge. See, basically price earning ratio is a valuation ratio, friends. So basically valuation is an art, not a science. Always remember, it depends upon the person who is looking at the company, that what value he feels in the company. Now, typically, as far as PE ratio is concerned, there are two things. Lower P is good and higher P is bad. These are the two most important, what I can say, wrong concepts that people carry. See, please understand that PE ratio will depend upon the growth prospect of the company. So actually sectors like IT, media, telecom, private sector banks, biotech will always have higher PE ratio because growth in these sectors is high. On the other hand, steel, cement, aluminium, paper, they will always have lower PE ratio because these sectors typically will have lesser amount of growth. So always remember, PE ratio will broadly depend upon the growth prospect of the sector. Second, when you compare two companies PE ratio, your base has to be same. That means you cannot compare PE ratio of Infosys with that of Tata Steel. Both are in totally different perspectives, correct? You can compare Infosys with TCS. You can compare Tata Steel with JSW Steel or basically Jindal Steel, means any other proper steel manufacturer. Keep that particular point in mind, friends. Once it should not happen that your base is not the same. Similarly, you cannot compare PE ratio of SBI and ICICI because SBI is a leading public sector bank. Obviously, it has its own delays in decision making, whereas ICICI is a private sector where judgment decisions are taken based on profitability as a criteria. So please understand that PE ratio is a valuation ratio, and always remember that valuation is an art, not a science. Correct. So different investors will value a company with different perspective. Then comes most important, debt equity ratio. See friends, if you ask my judgment, whenever I buy a share, I feel these two factors most importantly. One is net profit, one is debt equity ratio. Always remember net profit should be rising and debt equity ratio should be zero. Then and then only this particular company or any company will perform very well. See, if you take classic examples, Kingfisher, it was one second largest airlines had to shut down because 7,000 crore rupees loan it take. DLF, 22,000 crore rupees loan, the stock did not perform. Arcom, 500 rupees stock has become 7 rupees because it took a loan of 46,000 crore. Bharti Airtel, again, after so many quarters, after I think 14, 15 quarters, this quarter it has come into profit because it had taken a loan of 60,000 crore to acquire Zain in South Africa. That is a company. But that takeover did not work well. Please understand, friends, all those companies which have fizzled out, if you try to compare them, the main point is that all these companies took a lot of loans and finally they could not pay off those loans. So always remember that when you buy a stock, it has to be a zero debt company. That is something very, very critical and important. Just 1 second, friends. Just give me 1 second. So friends, always remember that the debt equity ratio has always to be zero. That is the best strategy to buy a stock, because if a company has a zero debt equity ratio, it will always survive any of the downtrend because it does not have any financial obligation. So keep that particular point in mind. See, even today, Infosys, Wipro, TCS, why they all perform? Because still they don't have single rupee debt. In fact, Reliance Industries became zero debt, and that is the reason the stock has been revalued from 1200 to 1500, and now it is at 2100 rupees and likely to touch an all-time high also. So please understand that debt equity ratio is something very vital. Then basically comes dividend payout ratio. See, dividend payout ratio is very simple to understand, that any company who pays regular dividend is always something more profitable. So it is always better to buy a company which is regularly paying dividend, because dividends are paid out of solid cash. So obviously dividend payout ratio is something very important, very critical. Higher the ratio, obviously the more fundamentally sound the company is. So that is something very vital. So always remember, dividend payout is something, an important ratio and a simple indicator, because dividends can be paid only out of net profit. Liquidity ratio shows you short-term payment obligation of the company, whether the company has sufficient amount of liquidity to handle its short-term payment obligations like salary, revenue expenses, electricity bill, rentals, and other things. Always remember, at times it has happened that company was sound, but it did not have enough liquidity to pay its short-term debtors, and that always creates a problem, friends. Always remember that in short-term, liquidity ratio is very important. The higher the liquidity ratio, the more sound a company is to manage its short-term payment obligations. Standard ratio is 2:1. Order book primarily shows you, friends, what is the work the company has in hand. Every quarter when companies come with the results, they typically try to show that this is the order book with them. That means number of contracts available with them for near future. Higher the order book, the better it is, because in that case management will be able to execute those orders and generate future cash flow. So that is why order book is something very vital, very important, friends. Finally, corporate governance. Corporate governance is a qualitative variable which shows how ethical and transparent is the top management. Always remember, friends, this is something which you can judge only by experience and as and when time passes. See, any company management which says and finally executes all the things is obviously something which is to be relied upon. So corporate governance is something important parameter, friends. For example, we buy Infosys because of Narayan Murthy. We buy Tata stocks because of Ratan Tata. You trust the top leadership, and this you can judge by seeing their actions, analyzing their actions, and reading the annual reports. In that, directors, board of directors give their speech, their views, so you can take a judgment whether they are following what they are talking or not. So finally, friends, always remember that as far as conclusion is concerned, please understand that in the long term, fundamental analysis is very useful for investing. Correct. Only stock investment is not useful. You need to analyze economy and industry also. So if you basically do this thorough analysis, you will definitely be able to generate good amount of income for yourself. So with this, friends, I complete my part, and now we can go for Q&A session, Q&A round, friends. So don't hesitate in asking any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for the nice session and for enlightening us all on the fundamental analysis that we need to do before investing in the
Yes, sir.
stock market. Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's not like gambling that people think.
Yes, exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
it's a very studied investment that you need to do very analyze and then jump into the fray.
Correct, sir.
Right. Thank you very much once again. And let's go to the question answers. There's one from an anonymous attendee who says, where will we get P ratio and debt to equity ratio detail for a particular company?
See, you can get it from basically moneycontrol.com. You can get it from screener.in. These two websites are very good. You can get it again from, I will repeat, moneycontrol.com. You basically write the name of the company and you will get details. Or second, you can always get it from this thing also. Screener, SCREENER, screener.com. That is something very important. So these two things you can basically, these two websites are very good and you can find out them. See, friends, one thing I will tell you that if I sum it up now, basically whenever you buy a stock, just try to focus on, just try to primarily focus on whether what kind of net profit is coming, whether net profit is rising or not. Trust me, that is the most important point. And second is, what is basically your debt equity ratio, whether debt equity ratio is basically zero or not. Never go with a company, friends, where debt equity ratio is rising, that because that will always create some or the other problem. Whenever debt equity ratio goes up, the company always faces a problem. This I have personally seen, that companies which have more amount of debt capital are likely to get trapped. Correct. So keep that particular point in mind.
Thank you, sir. The next question that I can see is, what should we do if financial foreign institutional investors buying and mutual fund sales in same company? Why
See,
company goes for buyback and OFS?
See, no, please understand. See, as far as if you see the current scenario also, if I tell you the current scenario, then current scenario is actually like this, whereby what has happened is that large number of people, if you see, basically the mutual funds are selling. Correct. Mutual funds are consecutively selling, whereas FIIs are basically buying. So that is where the play is. See, basically mutual fund feels that the market is overvalued. Correct. Market is overvalued. So basically they are primarily selling, but FIIs are buying for the simple reason, because they feel that the future is still bright and lot of money will still be absorbed in Indian markets. Now here one thing, always remember, as far as basically this is concerned, as far as your US market is concerned, our markets are largely affected by US economy. Correct. Our stock markets, for the simple reason that as far as our markets are concerned, typically whenever US economy is reducing its interest rate, you will typically find that stock markets in India goes up when they reduce interest rates. In fact, today if you see, basically our markets crashed out. Why markets crashed out? Because there is a news that US bond yields have gone up to 1.72%. Correct. That particular point we have to keep it in mind. So always remember that in the long term, it is the monetary policy of US that typically plays very vital role.
So is the question answered, Dr. Srinivas, or do you need to?
No, sorry, it's answered. So basically
answered,
what,
right. Okay.
So what I'm trying to tell, sir, this is
Right.
last one line conclusion, that valuation parameters of mutual fund and the FIIs will differ. So that is the reason you find that one is selling and one is buying.
Right, understood. Thank you so much. And the next question from Abdul Mannan is, if dividend payout ratio is higher, then does that mean that the company is not investing in R&D? Isn't a bad sign for the company?
No, basically, see, it depends upon, sir, okay, what kind of outlook basically the company has. If the company has a lot of basically opportunity, if the company has a lot of opportunities, then it will not pay dividend. So that is one thing we have to keep it in mind. On the other hand, if the company does not have much opportunity and it wants basically to reward its investor, then it may basically give dividend. You will be surprised to know that Microsoft, which is the most profitable company, gave only dividend twice. So basically it depends. Correct. So one should not interpret only from that particular angle.
Right, understood. Thank you. Right. There is one question: which websites do financial analysis? So I think you have mentioned those
Yes,
two,
yes,
right?
sir. Both
It's
apna
the same one.
screener.in and basically
And
money control. Yes, even you can
correct.
go to bscindia.com.
Right. That's understood. The next question from Mr. Tosif Sayyed is, how fundamental analysis differs from technical analysis, and for long-term
See,
investment, which analysis to be followed?
see, basically for long term, it is always the fundamental which plays a vital role. Technical analysis, it basically gives you entry and exit points, whereas fundamental is for long term investing. Correct. So both serve you different purpose. Correct. Both will give you basically different purpose.
Right.
So
Thanks very much.
always, yes. So
Yeah,
and
yeah. You
in long term, always please go with fundamental analysis only. Correct. That is something very important. Do not go get carried away. Finally, if fundamentals are strong, then only stock market goes up.
Right. Thanks very much. The next one is how the interest rate is interlinked with foreign investments, and also how, in practical term, raising and lowering the interest rate affects the domestic economy.
Sure. See, this is a very important question. See, please understand a simple logic. See, today, if you and I were to take a housing loan, what will you calculate? You will always calculate what is the EMI that comes to you, correct? Right now, housing loan is available for 6.7%. It is at one of the record low levels of interest rate. So please understand that when repo rate basically goes up, when repo rate goes up, people avoid taking loan because your interest rent is high. Your interest burden will be high. So obviously you will not be comfortable taking loans, correct? On the other hand, if basically interest rates are low, then in that case, you will be able to generate good amount of loan and you will be in a more secured position. So keep that particular point in mind. Second, when interest rates are relatively higher in India, see, as I told you, US has right now 0.25% interest rate, UK 0.5, Europe 0.5, Japan has negative interest rate. So obviously our 5% also looks higher to them, and that is the reason why they want to invest in our markets also. See, please understand, it is not only equity markets, but in India, debt markets also attract a lot of capital. Clear, sir?
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. The next question is, which is the best app for trading? How long should we ideally hold a share for swing trading?
See, basically, swing trading is something you have to identify what are the lows and what are the highs. So basically, if a stock has gone down by 3-4%, see today Infosys was down 3%. In fact, other IT stocks were also battered. So to be very frank, that could be one of the areas to buy. And then when it goes up, you can sell. So that could be one trading strategy which you can adopt. But again, with lot of cautiousness and stop loss mechanism.
Right. Now, I think this question you may have mentioned earlier, but Mohammed Kalim still wants to know how much debt equity ratio is permissible.
Yeah, sir, can you please repeat it? What is the?
How much debt equity ratio is permissible?
See, basically, no, if you take a standard, then normally 2:1 is the debt equity ratio. So for 1 rupee of equity, 2 rupees of debt is sufficient. But to be very frank, sir, what has happened over a period of time, the companies, in order to go for blindfolded expansion, they keep on taking loans and ultimately end up making the debt equity ratio 4:1, 5:1, and then they are never able to come out of that particular mess. So that is why it is very important that one needs to be very cautious when you are basically entering into any loan agreements. See, if I put it very simply, uh, in this pandemic time, who was the happiest person? To be very frank, a person who did not have loan on his head. Correct. If you don't have an EMI, you are definitely happiest because you will be able to manage your things. The same logic applies for at the corporate level, sir. At the corporate level also, the same logic applies that if you have more amount of debt capital, the companies won't survive. And that then there are plethora of examples which actually prove that point. See, if you remember, Kingfisher was one second largest airlines of India, right? The whole mess started because they took 7,000 crore rupees of loan, which was frankly beyond their capacity to repay. You take Reliance Communication. I myself have seen that share at 500 rupees, 550 rupees. Today that is available for 1 rupee. Why? That company kept on taking loans and ultimately it could not utilize that debt capital properly, and ultimately the scene is out. We are aware how the company has got stuck now. So one thing is very important, sir, that when you are basically buying a share, typically buy a company which does not own this loan capital. That is what my logic is. And I can give you a list of those companies also where actually debt equity ratio is 0. So that are really safe bets for investment. If somebody would like to note, then I can tell those stocks. Should I mention those shares?
Certainly, I mean, it will be
Sure.
helpful.
Yes, see, basically Reliance Industries, number 1. Reliance Industries, then basically HDFC Life Insurance, that is also zero debt company. Maruti is a zero debt company. Then basically Nestle is a zero debt company. CDSL, that is CDSL, Central Depository Services Limited. This is zero debt company. Then basically BSE Limited, our Bombay Stock Exchange, is a zero debt company and it has 6% dividend yield also. Then basically you can also go with DMart. DMart is a zero debt company. So these are Infosys, Wipro, TCS. All the three are zero debt companies. So you can definitely go with all these stocks, which will help you to really create good wealth in the long term.
Thank you, Dr. Srivas. Now, there's a what you call a connecting question. Shadab Kate wants to know why the shares of Wipro and IRFC are falling in spite of strong fundamentals.
So please understand, it is nothing but profit booking. Right now, the valuations of the overall markets are high. And as I told you, that because there is a fear that bond yields will rise in USA, the foreign capital is getting slower and slower. So that is the reason basically why stocks are getting battered. But to be very frank with you, this is a very good time to invest if you have missed the bus. For example, SBI, Infosys, Reliance, HDFC. These are stocks which have been which are consecutively coming down. You can definitely accumulate them, and that will be a good buying strategy.
Thank you, sir. The next one is from Mr. Naved Akram. He wants to know, is there any way of finding out how much foreign investment is made in a particular company?
You go to basically bscindia.com, and in the company fundamentals, just see promoter holding. In shareholding pattern. In shareholding pattern, the foreign investments on quarter basis is shown. So you can come to know whether Even in this website, what I told you, screener.in, you go to screener.in and you will see this FIIs, how quarter on quarter, what is their percentage increase, DIIs and promoters. So you will come to know easily.
Right. Thanks very much. Mr. Tosef Sayed wants to know, can I do fundamental analysis on my own? Does this require any finance or commerce background?
It basically requires very good amount of reading, nothing else. You need to continuously read Economic Times, Money Control, Economic Times newspaper and Money Control website, friends. If you want to invest even 500 rupees in market, you need knowledge of these two. And even if you want to invest 5 crore rupees, you need knowledge of these two. Trust me, I am reading both of them since last 21 years.
Thank you, sir. There's one from Mr. Maruf Aftab. He wants to know, in which situation does the company go for buyback and OFS?
Both are different, sir. Buyback, the company will go in a situation where the company feels that there is a threat of takeover. So the promoter wants to buy back his own shares, number one. Second, they may also go for basically buyback if the company feels that the shares are undervalued. So the promoter wants to consolidate his position. So that could be the situation why they go for a buyback. As far as offer for sale is concerned, the company wants to dilute some of its shares and basically raise capital. So there, in OFS, the objective is to raise capital. In buyback, it is either a threat of takeover or basically the management feels that the company is not fairly valued by the market. So they themselves want to buy the shares.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas. Now we have time for last two questions.
Sure, sir.
Right. Now, so there's one I can see from Mr. Suyog Patil. He wants to know, is learning technical analysis useful? I ask because some folks dismiss it saying pseudo analysis.
No, definitely it is useful. Sir, technical analysis will at least help you not to put wrong trades. Please understand. See, I'll give a very simple example. See, today, if during the market hours, had you seen technical analysis, it was clearly showing that market has broken 50-day moving average. Now, for the last 4 times, market was taking support at 50-day moving average, but today it has been broken. So obviously, that's a clear indicator that you will see markets further going down. So this prevents you from making a wrong trade. So definitely it is useful.
Thank you, sir. The last question of the day is a very general question, which I'm sure everybody would be interested in. Is the commodity market or stock market, which is better for long term?
Obviously, stock market, sir. See, commodity market is purely speculative because in commodity, you don't get any delivery. So nothing comes in your demat account. It is purely speculative and it is even 10 times more volatile than stock market. So the risk is also very high. Plus in commodities, things like gold, silver, and basically gold, silver, and crude oil. These are the 3 commodities which are highly traded, but they all are controlled by international factors where India doesn't have any say. So basically in those commodities, the risk is high, volatility is high, and chances of your losing money is extremely high. So frankly speaking, one should not do any kind of commodity trading unless you have a lot of loose capital to absorb the loss. Otherwise, it's not something that you should put your hard-earned money into.
Thank you very much, Dr. Srinivas. This session was very helpful to understand about doing fundamental analysis before going ahead and invest in the stock market. And thanks very much, all the friends, for being here. Tomorrow, the session that we have is on monetary policy and its implications. So this is again a very important topic, and I request all to be there again for the discussion tomorrow. Thank you. Yes.
Sir, one humble request to all participants, please attend tomorrow's session for the simple reason in that you will actually understand the role of US Federal Reserve. See, we are at times not aware, but trust me, the decisions taken by US Federal Reserve sitting in Washington actually affects our stock market. So that whole portion I will be covering tomorrow, impact of global monetary policies, including RBI role also. So please ensure that you attend it.
Right. So friends, all of you all are requested to attend the important session tomorrow. Thanks for being here. I'm sorry that we couldn't take all the questions because we have time limitation, and hope that you all will be there again tomorrow, and the questions will by and large be answered during all these sessions that we have remaining. Thank you once again. Thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for taking your time out from your busy schedule.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure.